Hey Wizzy,
Yeah.
did you know that it takes the average male 5 seconds to realize that 5 seconds has passed after he's pondered the question, how long will 5 seconds pass?
That was definitely longer than 5 seconds.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Ross Pitt, Shark Hunter. Here with me today, as always, my beautiful best friend in the whole wide world. That's not my other best friend in the whole wide world, Wizzy Puff.
Oh.
Top three, buddy. Welcome to Ross and Wizzy's Fanfiction Power Hour. I'm so glad you could join me today. How about you, Wizzy? Are you glad?
I mean, I'm pretty content with them joining us.
Wizzy hasn't been very talkative today, but that's okay because we're gonna give him a fanfiction to read. That's right, it's Wizzy's turn to read a fanfiction.
This is gonna be the ASMR episode.
All right. This fanfiction is called "Were We the Bad Guys" by Commissar AJ.
Looks like Commissar.
Commissar. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's okay. That's okay.
Were we the bad guys? Chapter. Long ride on a short bus. The atmosphere within the bus was subdued during the trip back to Crystal Prep Academy. The students were all tired and worn out from the day's events, and the thoughts of what transpired during the friendship games were still fresh on many of their minds. To say that the games ended far differently than any of them had expected would be as much of an understatement as saying that Principal Cinch would be a bit of a grouch in the morning. But despite all the hardship and many of them nearly falling through a portal into an alternate dimension, something that few people were ever mentally prepared for, the students, I don't think I really want to know. The students of Crystal Prep were returning home with lessons learned and a new perspective on life. For Indigo Zap, the friendship games didn't end in the victory that she had wanted or expected, but she felt better for how things turned out. Getting to know the students at Canterlot High was far more enjoyable than it ever was just beating them all the time.
That Rainbow Dash girl was pretty cool.
Preach! Zap thought, smirking to herself.
Maybe that school isn't so bad after all.
Sitting near the back of the bus, having spent most of the ride just contemplating the day's events, Indigo Zap glanced over her shoulder to her teammates on the Shadow Bolts. Her friends, for want of a better word. From what she could tell, none of them looked shaken up from what had happened. Sugarcoat was fiddling on her phone. Sour Sweet and Sunny Flare were having their own little conversation, and Lemon Zest was just listening to her headphones. I love
Lemon Zest.
Lemon Zest is such a good name.
Lemon Zest, more like... And then the Czech Republic flag. I forgot how that video that I made goes.
I'm so confused.
You've seen the video.
Yeah, I probably have, but I forget a lot of videos I watch.
Alright, fine. I'll show it to you. But continue.
Seeing them still holding together as they always had when faced with challenges brought another smile to Indigo's face. Plus, another strange feeling that she wasn't used to. It was pride! That's so sad. But it wasn't in herself, but rather her friends. It was a weird sensation, but at the same time, not an unpleasant one. Maybe there was something to be said about all that friendship stuff that the red-headed girl said.
What was her name again? Sunlight, Sundawn, Sun something Glimmer. Oh, I forget. It was actually Sunset Shimmer, but whatever. I'll just have to kill you later.
You get to be real angry about that. By the way, your voice sounds like you're about to throw up.
Do you make that voice when you're about to throw up?
I mean, I'm not normally talking when I'm about to throw up, so I don't know. Her brain was too exhausted from the academic decathlon to try anything strenuous. It was a miracle she was still able to remember the names of everyone on the bus, let alone a student from another school. Shifting about face in her seat, Indigo peered over the back of the chair to her colleagues in the rows behind her.
Hey, girls.
She started off.
I just want to make sure I didn't get a concussion or anything during the motocrosses event, but we all just saw the same thing happen, right?
You mean when Twilight Sparkle unleashed a supernatural power that turned her into a demonic entity and then ripped open a portal through the fabric of space? Sugarcup replied in her always reliable, upfront manner. Or the part afterwards when that other student summoned...
That is the closest you've ever gotten.
I think I did pretty good with some of them before. Like maybe Rarity or Applejack. The part afterwards when that other student summoned even more supernatural power seemingly from her friends in order to turn into another unnatural entity to confront the first.
Both, I guess.
It sounded almost absurd hearing it from another person, but when Indigo saw all of her friends nodding in the affirmative, she at least could feel secure in knowing she hadn't lost her mind. That, or everyone had collectively lost their minds. Maybe somebody put something in the punch during the morning party.
Well, good to know I'm not seeing things.
Indigo said with a half-hearted grin.
So that was a thing that just happened? I mean, magic and portals and flying students? I didn't see that coming.
I saw it coming.
Lemon Zest suddenly shouted, her voice louder than everyone was prepared for as she was still listening to her headset. Sure you did. I bet you heard all about it while listening to your music all the time. Sour Sweet remarked. Ignoring the sarcastic remarks, Indigo pushed to keep the conversation on track.
How'd you know?
From my tube, of course.
Zest replied, as though it should have been plain as day. She slipped off her headset for a second and then pulled out her phone. After a few swipes and taps, she turned the screen to Indigo, which showed a band of familiar-looking girls playing music at a concert. Indigo's confusion was short-lived, as the video soon showed the band begin hovering off the ground, and one of them sprouting wings just like she had during the motocross event. So wait, Equestria girls. People don't know that they have powers, but they have powers, and I'm guessing something happened where the people figured out that they had powers.
People don't have powers specifically. They only have powers when they are directly in touch with something from Equestria. The only exception to that are the main 7, who are given the powers through the magic of friendship, and then through crystals from Equestria.
Yeah, just friendship and, magic crystals.
Well, they didn't have those magic crystals for the first 3 movies, including the one that this is right after. So, but if that's all the questions you have.
Battle of the Bands?
Indigo said, reading the title of the video.
This happened almost a month.
Oh, right. And also the freaking, I forgot about the instruments. Yeah, when the main 7 play instruments, they get, magic and shit. They don't know why, though. That one's a mystery.
This happened almost a month ago. Why didn't anybody say anything about this?
I sent you all the link when I first saw it.
Zest explained.
Didn't any of you watch it?
Indigo Zap and the others began averting her gaze, demonstrating that Crystal Prep was lacking in the dramatic arts department since none of them could pull off a convincing look of innocence. For her part, Zap tried her best to look as though something terribly important had befallen her goggles and needed immediate inspection.
Gee, thanks.
Zest pouted before falling back into her seat.
Bunch of Philistines.
More like bunch of fillies. Horse joke!
Oh, shit.
An air of silence drifted through the bus once again, save for the faint tones of music coming from Lemon Zest's headphones, though nobody else had noticed. She had not put them back on and had instead turned to stare out the window in a brief spell of introspection. She too began a reflection upon the day's events, how things had unfolded, and the parts she had played in the near tragedy that had befallen her and her fellow students. It was at that moment that a flash of inspiration came upon her, a sudden realization that reshaped her whole outlook on life. What are you doing?
I'm being Indigo. Not Indigo, Lemon Zest.
Okay.
She's listening to music, man.
You're being the music or her listening to the music?
I imagine that she's going ba ba da ba 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 da da whilst listening.
She leaned over the seat once more to get a closer look at her friend, Indigo, in order to gain insight on this new revelation that had dawned upon her.
Indigo, were we the bad guys?
She asked. Zap stared at her in a moment of disbelief.
I beg your pardon?
During the friendship games, I feel like we were totally the bad guys just now.
What? No, that's impossible. It's absurd.
Zap dismissed the idea wholesale.
We won, for starters. We've won like every friendship games that's been held. Bad guys don't win. Ergo, we are clearly all the good guys.
Was I Sunny Flare?
Did Sunny Flare even talk yet?
I don't know.
Who the hell is Sunny Flare?
It had introduced her earlier.
Oh, right, her. The most forgettable one.
Hey, take that, Sunny Flare.
Y'all lemon.
Sunny Flare added, having overheard the discussion.
You can't be a bad guy in your own story. Why would you even think that?
I don't know, I was just thinking about all the stuff we did today.
The rocker girl explained herself.
I mean, we weren't exactly nice to the Canterlot High students. Plus, think about our team name, the Shadowbolts. The other schools go with names that are heroic or awe-inspiring or symbols of courage, and we got whatever a Shadowbolt is. Okay, so the Shadowbolts. Now, you know how there are the Wonderbolts in Equestria, right?
Yeah.
Well, briefly, in like the second episode, Nightmare Moon disguises herself as the Shadowbolts to try and convince Rainbow Dash to come over to her side. But Rainbow Dash says, "Nah, fam, I'm loyal."
Ooh. Go Rainbow Dash, but also
but then,
go Nightmare Moon.
In in Equestria Girls, instead of Wonder Bolts, it's Wonder Colts. And they're the Shadowbolts.
Alright. Sounds like something that Sunny Flare would invent back when she decided to go goth. Sugarcoat quipped.
That was 3 years ago, Sugarcoat.
Sunny Flare snapped, turning red from ear to ear.
It was just a phase, Mom. And you said we'd never talk about it again.
Sugarcoat returned the outburst with a playful little smirk, like a cat toying with their prey. Sunny, we all know it's never just a phase. There was a quick round of giggles from the other girls as Sunny Flare could only grumble and stew in her own ire. There was no point trying to fight back unless she wanted Sugarcoat to bring up something else embarrassing to tease her about. While the brief moment of levity helped to lighten the mood, it did little to stop Lemon Zest from arguing her case.
I mean, Shadowbolt sounds all dark and gloomy, like we're trying to scare people.
She continued on.
And then you hear a team name like Wonder Cult, and what do you think?
That those people have a strange fondness for horses?
Indigo replied. Oh, you don't know the half of it, Indigo. Indigo Zap slumped back in her seat for a moment, tapping her chin as she mulled over the term Wonder Colt.
I guess it does sound a little empowering, you know?
She concluded with a half-hearted shrug.
But Shadowbolt is a perfectly respectable team name. It doesn't always have to be inspiring. Sometimes you want to intimidate your opponents. It's a cool name, right? Right?
Of course it is.
Frankly, I love the name Shadowbolt.
Shadow Ball is cool. Like, I've seen anime where
I would much rather
the
be
good guys have a
Shadowbolt
team
rather than
name
the
that's
one
like
called-
Shadow Bolt or something dark like that. Like, it doesn't have to be a villain name. That's a really bad point to be arguing your case with. Sunny Flare was the one doing all that? Or. No, that
Lemon
wasn't
Zest.
Sunny Flare. That was Lemon Zest. Of course it is. Sour placated her friend. If you're 13 years old and think edgy is an unacceptable substitute for actually being cool and creative.
Acceptable.
Oops. Wait, no, I said unacceptable, didn't I? Did I say unacceptable?
I thought you said unacceptable.
No, we'll see in the replay. Indigo groaned
Johnny,
and
could we
rolled
get
her
a replay
eyes.
of that?
Wait, who's Johnny? Are you replacing me?
I am always replacing you, Wizzy.
BRB crying.
The sarcasm isn't helping, Sour Sweet.
I'm supposed to be helping?
God, listen, the Shadow Bolts was a good choice for a name.
I agree.
Indigo continued in her rationalization, though desperation rang more true.
Cadillac High was the Wonder Colts, and we were the Shadow Bolts. Notice the similarities with the whole rhyming thing? It works as a pairing, like yin and yang, or like...
A hero and villain? Hey now, yin and yang are not supposed to be good and evil,
Uh-huh.
strictly speaking.
It's like you're right, but you're getting there with the wrong means.
Exactly.
Zest suggested.
Certainly.
Indigo grumbled under her breath, even though no one could understand what she said because you said it very weirdly.
That's okay.
Just then, Sugarcoat appeared at Indigo's side, crouching in the aisle beside her as she held up her phone. If I may present some additional evidence for Zest's case, she announced while pulling up a picture. Here's a picture of the Kennerlot High team just before the Friendship Games. Though she couldn't quite remember all the names, Indigo would never forget the faces of 6 girls who helped put a stop to Twilight's magic-infused rampage. Wait, Twilight was the villain?
Alright, so. Interesting thing about the Friendship Games. This is why it's my favorite of the Equestria Girls movies. Twilight, from this world, was not from Canterlot High, but from the other school where these guys go to, right?
Oh.
So when when the Friendship Games were happening, she was discovering all this magic around the school, right? Because of, well, let's face it, other Twilight and Sunset Shimmer. So she was trying to figure out what the hell was going on, and she made this device that basically contained the magic, and she sucked the magic out of the other girls. All except for Sunset, I believe. Because you can't take the magic out of Sunset. That's just impossible, but... eventually, during the motocross archery skating thing portion of the games, the magic is like shown to be real to the onlookers, right?
Yeah.
And Rainbow Dash saves the hell out of these guys with her magic, but doesn't win the race with it. She wins the race with her own fucking grit.
Wait.
Rainbow Dash
So she did win the race?
are the best. Yeah.
Oh.
By the way, just for you, Applejack won the archery thing right before then.
Of course she did.
So eventually, Principal Cinch, who kind of sounds like Principal Bitch, am I right? Convinces Twilight to unleash the magic that she had gained in her little thingy. And so Twilight does, but that unleashes the darker Twilight, whatever her name is. I forgot what her name is. I think it's like...
Twilight.
Ooh, Twilight would have been fun. But no. Or Twilight would have been fun. But no. So anyways, Then Sunset has to stop her by getting the magic that remains in all the other girls due to their friendship and smashing the fucking thing on the ground. And it like blows up in light and surrounds Sunset, and she becomes day shine shimmer or some shit like that. And these two hash it out. Let me tell you, they start throwing sticks at each other. And then freaking Twilight blasts her with a like not friendship, an evil beam of magic, right? Oh yeah, and during all of this, there are like portals that are opening up to Equestria, and people are falling in and stuff like that. But yeah, Twilight blasts beam of evil towards Sunset. Sunset blasts a beam of friendship towards Twilight. And Twilight sees Spike and hesitates long enough to get shut the fuck down by that magic. And then Sunset's all like, "Take my hand, Twilight. Let me show you that there's a better way." In like the third best scene in the entire series. It is so good.
So Sunset is the hero and Twilight is the villain?
Yeah.
That is a plot I can get behind.
It's so awesome. I love that. So anyways.
All right. To her, the picture seemed to be your typical team photo, full of proud, hopeful, and grinning faces, save for one who looked like she was about to sneeze. In the end, she saw nothing out of the ordinary and was about to ask for an explanation from her friend when Sugarcoat continued her presentation. "Now may I present Exhibit B, our team photo." The second picture showed Indigo the faces of the Shadowbolts team, all of which held stern and determined gazes, with the lone exception being Twilight Sparkle, who also stood awkwardly amongst them as if some sort of anomaly. It wasn't the first time Indigo Zap had seen a picture of herself or her fellow students, but it was eye-opening having just seen the competition.
Wow, we look like we're about to go to a funeral.
Zap exclaimed in her dismay.
I will say the Shadowbolt uniforms look fucking nice.
Ross, stop simping over the Shadowbolts.
Not the Shadowbolts. Their clothes that they wear to school.
Ross,
Wizzy.
do you realize how inappropriate that sounds?
Oh, brother. They're nicely dressed. I don't care about the people inside them. They can go to hell for all I care. Except for you, Lemon Zest. You're perfect. I just like the clothes.
So what you're saying is it's what's on the outside that matters.
Yes.
You'd think the Principal Central outlawed smiling by the looks of us.
She then leaned in for a closer look at the picture, her face beginning to twist in horror and disgust.
Oh, for the love of... Have I always come off this conceited in pictures? I look like a complete bitch.
It's okay, Indigo. Sour Sweet reassured her in a manner that was about as comforting as a pillow over the face. You weren't like that every day, just on days that ended with Y.
Oh.
It was literally all the time. Sugarcoat added before she pocketed her phone. Lemon says presents a good case, considering our behavior today and the overall outcome. We were indeed the bad guys.
No. Well, I wouldn't say that Lemon Zest presented a good case, but I could see where you're coming from with that. But, no.
Yeah.
No. That is absolute bullshit.
Well, Zap is a potty mouth, ain't she?
Well, she does seem pretty ratchet. Zap replied, waving her hands in front of her face as though this were all a bad dream. She couldn't be the bad guy, because she was not Billie Eilish. I'm sorry. I apologize. That was terrible.
Dude.
She was a prized student. She was one of the top athletes at the school, a top league academic, and in line to achieve more accolades and scholarships than anyone else in her grade. More so now that Twilight Sparkle was out of the picture. Indigo Zap was going to breeze through college on a full sports scholarship, and then get a master's degree and a PhD and become an astronaut and be the first woman to set foot on Mars, and then she'd get elected president and have a Great Dane named Teddy, who'd also be the first dog bodyguard.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that was really cathartic for me. Especially the Great Dane named Teddy. I have a dog named Teddy, so, pretty great.
Aww.
That was not the future of a bad guy. This was not going to be her legacy at Crystal Prep Academy. She needed somebody to tell her that all of this was just a wild fantasy. Somebody smarter and wiser than her friends who could sort this mess out. Indigo Zap sprang to her feet and waved her arms frantically in the air. So I noticed something. She said she was going to be the first woman to set foot on Mars, not just the first person. Does this mean someone else has already set foot on Mars? A man, maybe?
Well, when you talk about someone setting foot on Mars, you'll usually say the first man to set foot on Mars. Honestly, it's kind of sexist, but... But I mean, I don't know. It's whatever, I guess.
I guess you're right. Anyway.
Dean Cadence!
Cadence! I didn't realize that
Dean
she was
Cadence.
gonna be a dean in this. Wow. At the front of the bus, the aforementioned school administrator cast a curious look back at her students, wondering why it looked as though one of them was 2 steps away from a panic attack. Is something the matter, Miss Zap? She inquired.
Be honest with us, Dean. Are we the baddies today?
She actually said, were we the baddies? At first, Cadence was taken aback by the unusual question. I beg your pardon, she replied as her brain tried to wrap itself around the situation. For a second, she thought perhaps her students were pulling a little prank on her. But the pleading look on Indigo's face told her this was a genuine concern, which made answering all the more difficult.
Were we the bad guys?
Indigo repeated. No, of course you weren't the bad guys. She began, albeit starting with the easiest part. You were just, you just got a little carried away in the spirit of competition and made some poor choices.
You're just saying that because you're the dean.
Right, of course. Just poor choices.
Indigo mumbled to herself. She sat down again, repeating those choice words to herself over and over like a mantra. People made bad choices all the time, after all. Like accidentally picking the wrong soda from the vending machine, or not holding the door open for a classmate. A bad choice here and there didn't make a person bad. Mistakes were why people had erasers and whiteout.
Because I'm a good person, right? Right? Just a good little girl.
I don't like saying that.
Who made a few silly mistakes, like trusting Principal Cinch.
Okay, that might have been a bit difficult to hear. Let me just say that normally. Like trusting Principal Cinch.
Thank you, Ross.
You're welcome, Wizzy.
And choosing to act like an arrogant, self-absorbed brat unwilling to display even the most basic levels of sportsmanship. Sugarcoat chimed in once more. Her words homed in and blasted down the last vestiges of Indigo's confidence like a heat-seeking missile. The young teen sat in absolute silence, a look of horrified bewilderment across her face. She didn't want to believe any of it could be true, but it was. It was a horrifying, inescapable truth that, in hindsight, looked so glaringly obvious that Indigo couldn't believe it had gone on like that for so long. And it wasn't just pushing around Twilight when she thought using a little magic might level the playing field. It was every dismissive remark, and the constant indifference to anyone's achievements other than her own.
I am a bad person. Cadence!
Indigo shouted, jumping to her feet once more.
Why didn't you tell us we were all being a bunch of assholes?
Indigo, mind your language, came the stern warning in response.
Sorry.
Girls, I have always tried my best to be supportive of each and every one of you. Cadence continued on. The others could tell she was straining to remain diplomatic since she couldn't just tell their students they were behaving like a bunch of brats. Unless she wanted to become ex-Dean Cadence the next day. But you must admit that you were very strong-willed when it came to doing things in your preferred way. In other words, we're all stubborn jerks. Sugarcoat clarified.
Very similar voices there.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to do a bit more nasally with Cadence, and it sort of carried on to Sugarcoat.
Oh, God. I'm a giant bitchzilla.
That word. They really did just put those words in for Indigo and no one else, which I can get behind because I don't have to voice Indigo.
Oh, brother. I respect that. Somewhat.
Indigo howled in dismay. After a few more seconds of shrieking that would put the wailing of the dead to shame, she unceremoniously collapsed once more onto her seat, now drained physically and emotionally. Maybe if she was lucky, there would be a merciful God watching over her, and he would make the bus explode so that she didn't have to live with this knowledge another moment longer. Instead, though...
I mean, then you would probably go to hell, and there you would basically be living with that knowledge all the damn time, if there was a God.
Just be like,
But
darn
again,
it.
maybe you would go to heaven. After all, you did do that one final push to that thing. What am I talking about?
Ross, I'm not sure if giant bee-zillas go to heaven.
Bitchzillas.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
She, in her last moments, she stopped being a bitchzilla, a giant bitchzilla.
Yeah, that might count for something. I don't know. I'd have to meet this god that she's thought about. Instead, though, Indigo felt a hand settle down on her shoulder, giving her a firm but reassuring squeeze. As her weary eyes gazed up, she saw her friends gathered closer, and with Sour Sweet's hand upon her. "It's okay, Indigo," she told her in that sickeningly sweet voice of hers. Wait, Sour Sweet has a sickeningly sweet voice? How fitting.
Yeah, she goes, nice little comment before a bitch comment.
You have all of us, remember? So we can all be horrible human beings together.
I honestly can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not.
Indigo deadpanned. Against all odds, however, she managed to crack a weak smile to her freckled friend.
But I think you have a good point there, Sours.
Really? 'Cause I was being, super sarcastic back there. Once again, Indigo finding that line between sincerity and sarcasm blurring to an even greater degree.
The point is, as long as we stick together as friends, we can fix this. And that's what separates us from the baddies. We learn from our mistakes, and we make ourselves better for it.
Speak for yourself.
Sunny Flare quipped under her breath, which earned her a quick elbow to her side from Sugarcoat.
I mean, fine, I guess we could do something. I still think this is stupid.
What's so stupid about wanting to be a better person?
Indigo remarked.
Because I'm fine just the way I am.
Sunny said. She let out an indignant huff as she folded her arms across her chest, making a show of her defiance for their ridiculous notions of morality.
I'm not going to be corralled to the whims of other people just because they think I'm a bad girl. And that's why Twilight is already more popular than you are.
Lemon Zest informed her, who had switched to browsing the internet on her phone. Whatever facade Sunny Flare had prepared for herself, those words hurled a brick through it.
She's what? How?
She hollered in ever-rising fury.
How could that dweeb possibly be more important than me?
Be more popular.
Be more popular than me?
Well, for starters, she's actually pretty cool. Sugarcoat explained. She leaned over and showed her phone to her irate teammate. Hey, it rhymes. She's getting all sorts of friend requests on my stable from both Crystal Prep and Canterlot High. My stable. My stable?
Yeah, it's like, My Stitch. That classic website My Stitch. I don't think Wizzy knows.
What are you talking about?
I'm just kidding, maybe.
Furious and in disbelief, Sunny grabbed the phone from her friend to check the evidence for herself. She scrolled down the ever-growing list of friends on Twilight's profile page and then noticed a number of familiar names.
You sent a friend request?
She shrieked. Of course I did. Sugarcoat replied.
Did all of you?
Sunny said as she looked to the others.
Obviously.
Why wouldn't I? She has a talking dog. How awesome is that?
Spike.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. Zest added. At that point, nobody was certain whether Sunny Flare was trembling because the air seemed to have chilled several degrees, or she was quaking in her unyielding fury. If hate could burn, everyone and everything in the bus would have been reduced to ash and cinders, leaving nothing more than just the smoke rising from the ashes of her broken pride. But as Sunny Flare continued to scroll through the phone, yet another injustice caught her attention, one that could have ignited such a hellfire in her that it would make the surface of the sun look tepid.
Why is Twilight Sparkle trending on our school's Winnie feed?
Sunny Flare demanded, holding the phone out for the others to see. None of them looked very surprised by what they saw. In fact, Lemon Zest just giggled to herself.
She's got her own fucking hashtag?
Hashtag Team Sparkle.
Zest cheered in delight.
I came up with it during the After Games party. Pretty cool, huh?
Et tu, lemon?
I don't know why, but I found that really funny. Sunny growled before tossing the borrowed phone aside. Having thoroughly burned herself out, she sank into her seat and buried her face into her hands.
How did it come to this? Welcome to my world.
An equally dejected Indigo offered her condolences. None of the girls were feeling too cheerful anymore, as though the curtains had been drawn back and all their sins had laid bare for the world to see. The worst part was the realization that they were all probably the last people to realize it. So how do we fix this? Sour Sweet asked after a prolonged pregnant.
Yes, a pregnant pause is a thing.
Pauses can have babies? After a prolonged pregnant pause. Unless you girls want to go through the rest of high school like this. Sadly, none of them had an immediate answer. There was a lot of humming and head scratching, but despite all their epidemic... How did I say epidemic?
I have no idea.
But despite all their academic prowess, all the girls were coming up short for answers. One by one, each eventually gave up with a resigned sigh and shrug of their shoulders. How could they be falling so spectacularly at something that the students at Canterlot High clearly had no problem with? Girls, if I may offer a suggestion...
No.
Cadence is... You don't get a say in this, Ross.
Fine. Make it snappy.
Cadence's voice perked up. Catching their collective attention, their dean stood before them in the aisle. So Cadence... Okay. So, Canterlot High has Principal...
Celestia.
Yeah, Principal Celestia. Where all the main six except Twilight go. Then Twilight goes to the other school with Dean Cadence.
Mm-hmm.
And Vice Principal Luna.
Yeah. And Vice Principal Luna is at Canterlot High.
Okay. I'm just making sure I know where everyone is. Who's Cinch?
Cinch is the principal for the other school. The Shadowbolt school. Crystal Prep, that's it. She doesn't have a pony counterpart. I think it would have been better if Sombra was the principal of that school. That I think would have been
Or,
better and funnier.
What about the Swiss cheese legs girl?
Chrysalis?
Chrysalis.
No, I don't think that would have worked.
Darn it. Having obviously overheard their growing dilemma. Learning how to be a better person isn't something you just fix overnight. It's a commitment to a set of ideals and virtues. Things like integrity, compassion, and generosity.
Oh, you mean like those things that Redhead said before she went on Magic 2?
She was also a yellowhead. Shut the fuck up, Indigo.
Indigo remarked. Indeed, and you need to learn how to make those virtues part of you. Not just because you don't want to be a bad person, but for their own sake. Cadence continued to explain. Now I've unwillingly overheard most of your conversations, and I think the best place to start teaching yourselves these lessons is with each other. I think that voice keeps evolving.
Yep. It just keeps magicking.
Each other?
Indigo remarked in evident confusion.
I used to have a lot more of a graspy voice with her.
It was supposed to be like that, but eventually it just evolved into this.
Yeah, it matches her sadness right now.
What do you mean, Dean? We're already friends. We're great friends.
Cadence raised a skeptical eyebrow. Are you really?
Yeah, shut up.
3 words, but it was enough to plant a seed of doubt in Indigo's mind.
Yeah, of course. We're like peas in a pod. We do everything together. My big brother, best friend forever.
Is that,
Boom.
apples, to the core. Apples to the core.
No, it was actually a song from Hamilton. That's a lie. No, it was another song in the show from the season 2 finale.
Okay, I
Big
just remember
brother,
the
best
line.
friend forever.
I just remember there's a line about peas in a pod and apples to the core.
And you would be correct. There is.
They really do like them peas, don't they? Okay.
Mm-mm-mm.
She turned to the others, but many of them held looks as uncertain as her own.
Sour sweet. We're best buddies, right?
Of course we are. We're the absolute best of friends.
See, Cadence?
Indigo beamed in delight, albeit briefly.
Sour sweet agrees with... Oh, goddammit, you're being sarcastic again, aren't you?
It's how I show my love.
See? Best friends.
No. Unfortunately, none of the students noticed Cadence rolling her eyes or the visible signs of her slowly eroding patience. Otherwise, they might have corrected their behavior sooner. As I was saying, Cadence resumed, I think the 5 of you would benefit from improving your friendship with one another, which in turn will help make you better people when it comes to the rest of the school and beyond. She gave them all a reassuring smile, not wanting to make any of them feel despondent upon their future. You're all brilliant and driven girls, and there's nothing any of you can't achieve when you put your minds to it.
Suddenly, I really
Yes.
hate this voice.
I'm trying to sound like some southern seductress.
Clearly.
Yes, you may have made some bad choices, but I know in my heart that each of you can make this into a turning point in your lives for the better. Hearing those inspiring words gave Indigo Zap all the hope she needed. Filled with a renewed sense of hope and spirit, she knew what had to be done. She was going to kill the others.
You're right, Big Cadence.
Indigo exclaimed, fists clenched tight in excitement.
We're not going to let this bring us down. We're not quitters. We're not losers. We always give our very best for we are Crystal Prep Academy. We are the Shadow Bolts.
At least until we figure out a better name.
Shut the fuck up.
Sugarcoat added. Seriously, it sounds like something out of a Saturday morning cartoon.
I presume there's a plan to go along with all of this bravado, Indigo?
Sunny inquired.
Oh, well, I was thinking.
It was obvious to see that Indigo hadn't thought that far ahead, to absolutely nobody's surprise.
You know what? It's been a long day. How about we go out and celebrate as friends?
There was a round of nods and murmuring agreement, with Sour Sweet to be the first one to give voice. "That is a great idea," she exclaimed. There was a sudden and brief pause, however, as everyone around her shot her a skeptical glare. "What? I'm being serious this time. Really?" "How about we go out for some ice cream?" Sugarcoat suggested. "Nah, I don't want to go out for ice cream," Sour replied, shaking her head. "I'm pretty hungry. How about pizza instead?" The spectacled student frowned and scrunched her nose in disgust. Who is this? Who's the spectacled student, Ross?
Oh, yeah, that's Sugarcoat.
Okay, I don't know what any of these guys look like.
How do you not know what Lemon Zest looked like? She's
I
perfect.
probably have seen Lemon Zest at one point.
Well, you definitely have.
Hey. After today, pizza's going to make me feel all bloated, she replied. And I don't want all that sugar. Sour snapped back.
How about instead of stuffing our faces, we go someplace that we can actually relax?
Sunny Flare interrupted with her own idea.
God, you're all stupid. How about the spa? Now that's how you unwind after a busy day.
Sugarcoat and Sour Sweet just shot a glare back at Sunny as if she had just kicked their puppies. No way! Not a chance. And to no surprise, Sunny Flare took grave offense to their rejection, snapping back.
For crying out loud, the spa's fantastic. How could you possibly be against that? Because it's boring.
Honestly, the spa sounds like a really good time right now. And I realize it sounded like my
Right now,
Sugarcoat
sure.
voice, but that wasn't my Sugarcoat voice. That was me being honest. Zest chimed in.
We should go to the arcade instead. Now that'll be an awesome time. Yeah, if we're like 8 years old. Better than your dumb idea. My idea isn't dumb. The ice cream is still a...
It's you arguing with yourself. It sounds so good.
That's basically how I do anything. It's me arguing with myself.
Ice cream is still objectively the superior choice. Only if you are a lame butt. And before Indigo Zap could even say, "Let's go Shadow Bolts," she and her so-called friends had all degraded into a complete and utter shouting fest. Both her and Dean Cadence looked on in dismay. One palm
worst. Give me your freaking fist. I'm gonna punch it in your own face. God.
He's supposed to be them arguing in the back?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. One palm firmly planted across their face and silently mouthing their grievances to whatever gods might have been listening. As the argument raged on like wildfire, the vicious barbs and verbals arrows growing more intense with each passing moment. One could see Dean Cadence's tranquil temperament beginning to falter. Her hands tightened around the seat she stood next to, her fingers digging deep into the velvet cushions. Anybody paying attention could have realized that she was seconds away from losing the last of sieges of her patience. But with almost everyone embroiled in their own argument, only Indigo Zap saw what was about to be unleashed. Suddenly, Midnight Sparkle didn't seem all that frightening to her. So it was, like
Midnight Sparkle,
Twilight
that's the
Sparkle. That is enough, Dean Cadence shouted, silencing everyone and everything on the bus. Do you girls really want the truth? Fine, you can have it. You are not just the bad guys. You five are some of the most self-absorbed, egotistical, spoiled brats that I have ever come across. You've had so much in life handed to you for so long. The very idea that other people have wants and needs that occasionally have to come before your own is as alien as a three-headed monkey. Day after day, I have tried my best to instill into you some measure of virtue, but even the most basic principles of decency seem too hard for you to grasp. Despite it being something that every other child learns when they're still wet in the bed. You tout yourselves as a bunch of princesses, but the only thing remotely royal about any of you is how much of a royal pain in my behind you've been. All the girls were taken aback by Cadence's outburst, silenced by a combination of shock and awe at the verbal bombardment. For her part, Indigo tried to speak up to defend herself, but it was soon clear that their dean was not yet finished.
Man, if I had known that she was gonna get this long ass monologue, I would have freaking took her myself.
You don't like this voice?
What?
I said you don't like this voice?
No, I'm just sad that you have to talk so much. As I always am whenever I talk to you.
BRB crying. Most people have the sense to realize that acting in a polite and civilized manner is an important part of growing up, but it took you 5 a near-apocalypse event to even come close to recognizing that you are the root cause of all your dysfunctional relationships. And despite all this, I have still refused to give up on any of you, because the last thing I want is for any of you to wake up 20 years from now and realize that the reason your life is a complete mess is because you were a horrible person to everyone around you. Yet even the simplest lessons are amiss on all of you, as you all have your collective heads shoved so far up your own butts that you can fillet your own appendix. If Principal Cinch had told me this job would involve having to babysit such a bunch of whiny little snot-nosed troglodytes, I would have told her to go fornicate with a cactus. My voice goes perfect for that line.
Holy shit.
Who says this to kids? Someone fire Cadence.
She said, well, she did say, you girls really want to know the truth? All right, that's it. And also the kids are bitches. Who cares? Except for you, Lemon Zest. Lemon Zest is, of course, say it with me now, perfection.
By the time Cadence took in that deep breath to signal the end of her tirade, she was completely red in the face, and everyone around her looked as though they were terrified that moment would result in instant death. As her complexion began to return to a calm shade of pink, Dean Cadence took a moment to straighten her coat and composure. I apologize for the outburst, she said before clearing her throat. Ahem. That was callous and unprofessional of me. Indigo was the first to regain a measure of courage and managed a response.
No, we kinda deserve that.
The truth shall set you free, as the saying goes. Okay, but they were just arguing about what to have for lunch, and that's what set her off. And I don't.
No, it's the constant.
think that's very professional at all.
That's just what broke her.
I guess the straw that broke the horse's back.
Exactly.
Sugarcoat added. And I can say I certainly feel liberated right now.
But not liberal, am I right?
Dab. Republican Sugarcoat, am I right?
Well, conservative Sugarcoat. We don't know the other thing.
Okay. There was a round of quiet, murmuring agreements from the other girls, though whether it was sincere or just an instinctual reaction derived from fear was anybody's guess. Very well, then, Cadence concluded, taking another moment to straighten a few wayward strands of her hair. I will be at the front of the bus if you need me. I hope I will not have to come back here to settle any further disagreements. Is that understood? Yes, Dean Cadence. The 5 girls responded in unison. Or unicorn, am I right? Up top.
Heyo, dab.
Once Cadence left, the girls were once again left with nothing but their own company and the overwhelming sense of shame upon them. A number of awkward, uneasy glances were chanced between them, but each were hesitant to be the first to say anything. So was anyone else impressed that Cadence managed to go through all that without swearing once? I know, I was very happy about that. Sour Sweet remarked.
We got wrecked.
Indigo nodded in agreement.
Super wrecked.
Zest added.
I also dabbed. Like
Nice.
hashtag
I wish I could have seen that.
Sixember Tyrannosaurus wrecked.
Oh, that is so wrecked. Lemon Zest's remarks managed to spur a small round of chuckles from the others, but it was short-lived as they realized they were still putting off what actually needed to be said. They all knew the words, but it wasn't something any of them were used to. Saying sorry was like admitting defeat, and all of them still had a tenuous relationship with that concept as a whole. It was eventually Sunny Flare who worked up the courage to take that first step.
I'm really sorry about what I said.
She apologized.
Pizza or ice cream or the arcade, they all sound like fun ideas. I'm sorry that I said they were childish.
Was she the one who said spa?
Yes.
Okay, I was just wondering, 'cause she didn't say spa in that, and I was like, wait, maybe she was the one to say it. And with the first step taken, the others soon followed. And I'm sorry, too. I shouldn't have called your ideas dumb. Sour Sweet said next. Zest went next, adding,
I'm sorry I yelled at all of you.
Sorry I was big, but...
Indigo sighed. And I'm sorry I made disparaging insinuations about your sexual preferences. Turns out she's the homophobic one. Dab. Sugarcoat rounded things off.
Well, that wasn't so bad. A little Eric of the soul and all that.
Indigo said, feeling another swell of pride at this display of humility amongst her friends. This time around, it didn't feel so strange. In fact, she was beginning to like having something new to be proud of.
Listen, I know none of us really say it very often, but you girls really are my best friends. At the same time, however, I know we can do better. Otherwise, we run the risk of losing what we have, and I know none of you want that.
I wouldn't mind losing some of Sour's sarcasm. Sugarcoat quipped, but flashed a quick smirk to her friend. You know you love me for it, and then they made out. Sour replied before sharing a laugh with her friend.
Hey, I've got an idea.
Indigo spoke up.
During the games, some of the Canterlot High students mentioned a place called Sugar Cube Corner that they like to hang out at. How about we try that?
The others looked a bit skeptical at first. Wait, Sugar Cube Corner, I remember that place. I don't know why, but I do.
That's Pinkie Pie's house. And
Hey,
the place she
that's
works at.
right. Oh yeah, we just did that in one of the Christmas episodes, didn't we?
Yeah, baby.
The others looked a bit skeptical at first, even after Indigo pulled up a map on her phone in order to show them how close Sugar Cube Corner was.
Come on. I know it's not one of our usual spots, but maybe something new is what we need. Besides, what's important is that we do it together.
You know what? You're right.
Zest exclaimed.
Let's give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? Sour Sweet stabs you in the hand with a salad fork.
Sunny Flare remarked. That was one time. Seeing her friends smiling and laughing together, acting like the friends they kept insisting they were, gave Indigo Zap even further inspiration.
Oh, Oh, I just had a brilliant idea.
She hopped to her feet and motioned for her friends to gather in the back row.
How about a picture of the 5 of us together? Yeah. But this time, no being all serious and stuff. I'm talking real smiles for a change.
Great idea.
Great idea.
Yeah, that sounded like everyone.
Yeah.
With everyone's approval, the 5 girls all grouped together while Indigo sat in the center with her phone held outstretched. Even though this wasn't the first group picture she'd taken with her friends, this one felt different. If she had to pick a word for it, she'd say it felt hopeful.
You know, girls, I get the feeling that this is going to be the start of something beautiful.
Indigo said, before smiling for the camera. Her friends all nodded in agreement, flashed their pearly whites, and then she hit the button.
Oh, come on. How am I still looking like a mix of these?
The end.
Hell yeah, baby.
Man, that felt nice. That was a nice fic to read. I gotta learn a lot more lore.
Yeah. Woo! Wizzy learns lore. Wizzy learns lore.
Hey, that's my last name. Learns lore.
Ah, yeah. So anyways, could have used a bit more lemon zest. But other than that, I mean...
That is what they said about my pie as well.
Yeah. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this quite a bit. It was funny. It had lemon zest.
Yep.
What more could you ask for? Not much.
You know, it felt, like one of those feel-good fics. It was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me hungry.
Exactly.
I do have some pizza I need to be getting to, so we should probably wrap this up.
Of course, of course. One final thing, though. You know my theory on why Lemon Zest always covers her ears with headphones and listens to music was because she did that as a child to drown out her parents fighting.
Why? Why is that your theory? Is there any grounding behind this theory?
My own life.
Ross! That's not even true. That's just sad.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to give these types of kids freaking whatever. We need to put this sort of thing in light. Poor children out there. All right. So everybody, that wraps things up. This was a bit of a longer one. Yeah. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye! I'm recording.
Mamma mia, you're recording.
You're not Italian. You can't say that.